Most people think that the businesses fail because they do not have enough customers or enough revenue, but that's not always true. I have seen businesses with plenty of customers which generates plenty of decent and a heavy amount of revenue, and they still go bankrupt. And I'm sure you would have also seen such examples in your neighborhood, in your local areas, where you see a big corporations, big stores, or a big brands with the multi units, 50s and hundreds of branches, and they still go bankrupt. Because one of the most common reason why the small businesses fail is not the revenues, or it's not the number of customers, or the lack of the product acceptability, but it's a lack of cash flow which makes any business die. So today in this video I'm going to talk about a silent killer of small businesses and what you can do to overcome that problem. In my past experience while working with a lot of investors and entrepreneurs, I have noticed one thing, that businesses do not die suddenly. Like, you do not fail in a business all of a sudden, like one night you wake up and you feel like, okay, it's not working out, or your business collapse and you need to shut down the operations. But in fact, the businesses bleed gradually and slowly, but the only mistake is when the owner realizes is already too late. So first and foremost thing which you need to understand is revenue of a business is not a profit, which means that is not your take-home income which you should depend on. Like, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, or even $1 million a month. People talk about the revenue and confuse it with the profit. But the revenue is a vanity. The profit is a reality. While the cash flow is a survival of a business. A business can generate 6 figures a month and still collapse. So when it comes to the cash flow, one of the important factor is that sometimes growth of a business can destroy the actual foundation. Yes, everybody wants to grow in the business and the growth looks very attractive, but most of the times people outgrow their overall infrastructure, or they grow too fast or too soon, which their current financial budgets cannot survive with, because the growth requires a lot of capital, inventory, payroll, operational expenses, and a lot more than that. So if you grow faster than your actual financial capacity or a financial muscle, then the growth can become very expensive and dangerous too. Another reason why businesses fail, because most of the times the founders spend the money too early. The moment you start building up a business, or you start seeing a cash flow, or you start seeing the revenues, then they start spending on the unwanted, unrealistic things. You go with a fancy office or expensive vehicles, even expensive brandings of the business, or excessive inventory, assuming or considering that you may end up selling all of those, or probably hiring too early. So you need to understand that the businesses do not need to look successful, they need to become successful, right? So you do not need to spend so much unnecessary, unwanted money too early, because that can be dangerous for your business. Another important reason why the cash flow is not able to sustain or managed by the founders, or the businesses fail because of the lack of the cash flow, is you do not keep the emergency funds for the business. So same like your personal life, you always keep a emergency fund for your medicals or emergencies or the family responsibilities. Same way in the business, you always need to have a separate emergency fund, because the businesses can go up and down, the seasonal businesses or the market fluctuations can impact on your business, and if you do not have an emergency fund, then it can directly hit and impact on your business very aggressively. Another important reason of the business failure is that you do not price your product or services efficiently and effectively. Either you overprice it or underprice it. Just because you are starting a new business does not necessarily mean that you need to underprice to compete and survive in the market. Sometimes even as a new business, you need to make sure what are your actual cost and the spendings on the business or on the product. Then you need to mark it up subsequently, just to make sure that your business actually survives and thrives, even after competing the price war. Another important reason is sometimes the founders or or the owner of the business becomes the bottleneck of the business, which means if you are a one-man company or you starting new and you want to wear all of the hats like operations, inventory, stock, warehousing, HR, payroll, administrative, sales, marketing, servicing. So all of the things you want to do as a business owner and operator, you want to do everything on your own. That limits your overall capacity and the business performance as well. So you need to decide and you need to know when is the right time to hire your next employee so that you can delegate some of your responsibilities and you have a free time to run and manage and grow your business. And another very technical point is I have seen most of the times the founders do not understand the differences between the gross margins, the net margins, the EBITDAs, customer acquisition cost, break-even cost, or even the cash conversion cycles of the business. So it's very simple. If you do not know the numbers, you are driving your business blindly. So technically, you need to understand that the real job of an entrepreneur or a founder is not to do the cleaning of the business or managing the inventory or just hiring and working on the payroll. Your actual job is to focus strategically on the business, not in the business. And at the last, you need to understand that businesses do not normally die because of one mistake. They actually die because of one mistake repeated multiple times, constantly and consistently. So if you are planning to launch your first business or your next business, you need to understand the whole business dynamics. You need to understand the do's and don'ts of running and managing a business so that you can grow, flourish, and scale your business. Thank you.